Christians are doing all kinds of things on the internet these days. Some things are cool, some things are strange. I'd like to tell you about what I found Christians doing on this internet. Welcome to the Christian Geekcentral. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, here with your Christian Geek Radar, covering some highlights and spotlights of Christian geekery going on the web during the month of March 2016. Starting us off, the Crossover Alliance is now expanding their book line to include more genres outside of speculative fiction. David Alderman of the Crossover Alliance recently announced that the publishing company would be expanding its book catalog to include genres outside the speculative settings they've focused on up to this point. Speculative being like sci-fi, fantasy, horror, these kind of like fantastical types of settings, as opposed to more real-world settings. He says, what began as an experiment in publishing a Christian thriller, Mark Carver's Beast, has proven to us that there is an audience for all sorts of different genres of Christian fiction. So beginning today, we open our doors to a wider array of Christian fiction genres. We'll start taking, among the speculative genres of science fiction, fantasy, and horror, westerns, thrillers, historical, supernatural, mystery, and just about any genre of fiction you can imagine, as long as it doesn't shy away from telling a true story, however edgy it may be, and it seeks to bring light to a dark world. There are a few exceptions, though, as we will not currently be taking sweet romance or young adult fiction, but there may be plans to in the future. Just as a note there, when he mentions doesn't shy away from telling a true story, I assume that what he means by that is something that is true to the human condition, not true like this is a true story that actually happened. Obviously, since they've been producing, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror and stuff like that. Now, this was an interesting move, but maybe one that we should have predicted. If you've seen Offscreen Kim's review of Mark Carver's Beast on this channel, you might have noticed that, if I remember correctly, she seemed a little bit like there'd been a bait and switch that happened, because she was expecting something more along the lines of speculative fiction, which is what the Crossover Alliance had advertised itself as a publisher of in the past. And there was, as she said, no spec in this fic, which was understandably a surprise to her. But it looks like that was kind of an experiment, and there was a good reception to that, and so now they're going to be opening up. So more and more, I guess going forward from here, the defining characteristic of the Crossover Alliance is going to be the edginess of its content, and kind of allowing for some content that's involves like four-letter words and depictions of sex, and obviously not graphical, but in text form, and other just kind of like harsher, harder, edgier kinds of material. There's no word yet on how the website may be reorganized to categorize and account for the inclusion of these new genres, but this initial announcement seems to be a statement of intention and invitation for author submissions, rather than something paving the way for non-speculative title announcements in the near future. So for more information, you can go over to, what is the site there? thecrossoveralliance.com. thecrossoveralliance.com. All right, moving on. The Calling by Rochelle Decker, and yes, that Decker, was released this last month. It's a dystopian novel, and the publisher is Tyndale, so you can go to tyndale.com for more information. Tyndale, spelled Tyndale.com. From the publisher's site regarding this book, it says, Remco Brandt had never been so sure of anything as escaping the authority city with Carrington Hale, but bravado comes easy when you have nothing to lose. Now a husband, father, and the tactical leader of the Seers, Remco has never had so much at risk. As he and his team execute increasingly dangerous rescue missions inside the city, they face growing peril from a new enemy. Recently appointed Authority President Damien Gold claims to be guiding a city shaken by rebellion into a peaceful, harmonious future. but appearances can be deceiving. In order to achieve his dangerous ambitions, Gold knows he must do more than catch the rebels. He must destroy the hope their message represents from the inside out. With dissension in his own camp and the City Watch soldiers closing in, Remco feels control slipping through his fingers. To protect those he loves, he must conquer his fears and defeat Gold before one of them becomes his undoing. All right, so again, Tyndale.com for more information about The Calling by Rochelle Decker. And now for some more Christian Geek publisher news, I'm going to turn it over to our friend John Wilkerson.
Hey Spirit Bladers, John Wilkerson here, and I just wanted to share some of the books that are coming out April 15th from Enclave Publishing. So if you got any tax money coming back to you, here are some things you might want to spend it on. The first book is in the No Ordinary Fairy Tale series. It's book 3 and it's called Arrow. Here's the book synopsis. She swore never to shed blood and violence, no matter how grave the danger. But when a fairy war threatens her home, the price of peace may be higher than Rosemary can pay. For 1,000 years, the fairies known as the Children of Rhys have lived in safety on their magical islands, protected from the evils of the outside world. Yet a deadly conflict is brewing on the mainland as the evil fairy empress gathers an army to destroy the brave rebels known as the Oakenfolk. And when Rosemary's betrothed, Garen, steals the sacred stone of naming and runs off to help the rebels, she realizes that the only way to keep the Children of Rhys out of the war is to go after him and get the stone back. The world beyond the Green Isles is stranger and more confusing than Rosemary ever imagined, and Garen and his fellow rebels are not easy to find. Every step she takes leads her deeper into danger, testing her courage, trust, and even the beliefs she holds most dear. If she refuses to fight the Empress, she could end up dooming the whole rebel army. But if she breaks her oath of nonviolence, she can never return to her beloved home and people again. Can her new fairy and human allies help Rosemary choose the right path, or will she only end up pointing them all toward destruction? So again, this is book 3 of the No Ordinary Fairy Tale series. It'll be available on Amazon and Apple iBooks, and it's available April 15th. Next up is Edge of Oblivion by Joshua A. Johnston. This is the first book in the Chronicles of Sarko, and this looks like a science fiction book by the cover. And here's the overview. A forgotten past, a terminal future. Earth has emerged from a cataclysmic dark age with little knowledge of its past. Aided by the discovery of advanced alien technology, humanity ventures into the stars, joining other sentient races in a sprawling, prosperous, interstellar confederacy. That peace is soon shattered. Without warning, the Confederacy comes under attack by an unstoppable alien force from the unknown regions. With hopes for civilization's survival dwindling, Commander Jared Carter is sent to pursue an unlikely lead, a collection of ancient alien religious fragments which may, or may not, hold the key to their salvation. That's book 1 of the Chronicles of Sarko series, Edge of Oblivion. All right, our next book is Songkeeper, which is book 2 in the Songkeeper Chronicles series. Here's the overview. War ravages Lyra, and the song has fallen silent. Freed from the hold of a slave ship, Birdie, the young songkeeper, and Kai, a streetwise thief, emerge to a world at war. Hordes of dark soldiers march across Lyra, shadowed by whispers of plague and massacres, prompting Kai to turn to his besieged home city in hopes of leading his fellow runners to safety. Desperate to end the fighting, Birdie embarks on a dangerous mission into the heart of Takran's fortress. Legend speaks of a mythical spring buried within, and the Songkeeper who will one day unleash it to achieve victory. Everyone believes Birdie is the one, but the elusive nature of the song and rumors of other gifted individuals lead her to doubt her role. Unleashing the spring could defeat the Takran once and for all, but can she truly be the Songkeeper when the song no longer answers her call? That's Songkeeper, book 2 in the Songkeeper Chronicles. And finally, we have Tainted by Morgan L. Busey. It's book 1 in the Soul Chronicles, and here's the synopsis. What happens when your soul dies? Kat Bloodmane is one of the first women chosen to attend the Tower Academy of Sciences, but she carries a secret. She can twist the natural laws of life. She has no idea where this ability came from, only that every time she loses control and unleashes this power, it kills a part of her soul. If she doesn't find a cure soon, her soul will die, and she will become something else entirely. After a devastating personal loss, Stephen Gray leaves the World City Police Force to become a bounty hunter. He believes in justice and will stop at nothing to ensure criminals are caught and locked up. However, when Kat Bloodmane shows up in his office seeking his help, his world is turned upside down. Together, they search World City and beyond for a doctor who can cure Kat, but what they discover on the way goes beyond science and into the dark sphere of magic. So that's Tainted by Morgan L. Busey, book 1 in the Soul Chronicles. So those are all the new books that are coming out April 15th, 2016 from Enclave Publishing. Like I said, if you're getting money back for your taxes, maybe you might want to spend it on a few of these. All of these books are available on Amazon and on Apple iBooks. So check them out today. Maybe you got these on your radar. Maybe you got some others on your radar. I don't know. My name is John Wilkerson from The Wired Homeschool. You can check out that podcast over at thewiredhomeschool.com. Music for this segment was provided by Kevin MacLeod over at incompetech.com. Catch you later.
Awesome. Thank you for that, John. I ran into a video last month that I found very interesting and posted basically an article that included that video as well as a few comments. And the title of that little small post that I put up is, "If you think faith is unpopular in the movie business, you're not imagining it." On this site, Christian Geek Central, we love to both celebrate and examine the ideas presented in geek entertainment, and that often comes with making distinctions between the worldviews most often presented in movies and the view of life the Bible presents. Now, I'm not suggesting we have hate or anger toward Hollywood creators, but their general, not always, but their general tendency to reject Christianity as they tell stories is something worth being aware of as we enjoy entertainment. I realize that may sound a bit like a self-absorbed, conspiracy-minded pity party, like, oh, boo-hoo, Hollywood hates us Christians, and that's not kind of the extreme view I'm taking, and we can be guilty, I think, of perpetuating a kind of an us and them, or even an us versus them mentality as believers, and I don't think we want to do that. But the tendency does exist to kind of have like almost an anti-Christian, ruling out Christian thinking as we present different themes and ideas and moralities and morals of stories and things like that. So the tendency does exist, as Jennifer Garner of Alias and Elektra, to name some of her geek entertainment credits, she herself expressed in a recent interview promoting her new movie Miracles from Heaven, in which, I'm not going to play this video here, but I do recommend you check it out. If you just do a search on Jennifer Garner on faith, this video ought to pop up, and she basically talks briefly about how in her town, Hollywood, if you're a person of faith, you're kind of on the outside. Faith isn't talked about, and even more than that, you're kind of on the outside if you are a person of faith, and there's just a lack of ability to kind of connect with other people. It's a very brief video, but one that I found very interesting. So again, if it looks like DwayneHamby.com is the website that is creating that content, but it's found on YouTube. Let's see here. So yeah, Jennifer Garner on faith ought to take you to that video. Very interesting. I also want to highlight a podcast. This is the Strangers and Aliens podcast at strangersandaliens.com, and this podcast is actually part of the Christian Geek Central network. And I would say the main reasons that this podcast is part of the Christian Geek Central network is because, one, it is produced with a high bar of excellence, and two, these are people that have a high value of Scripture and have chosen to make Scripture the highest authority in their lives, and I think that comes through in the content that they create. Strangers and Aliens, it says on their About page, is a podcast and blog that explores the relationship between God and man through the lens of speculative and imaginative fiction. It's a conversational podcast, so we'd love for you to join the conversation, they say. Ben and Steve are old friends and have collaborated on comics and podcasts podcasts in the past. Ben and Dr. Jace met at the Gideon Media Arts Conference and are working together on a super secret project. Together, this terrible trio are fans of sci-fi and fantasy, and more importantly, Christians who enjoy looking at how story can give insight into the relationship between God and man. These three guys are all coming from very different and interesting perspectives, and I always enjoy the content they produce. So again, you can check them out at strangersandaliens.com, and I recommend that you do. And then lastly, I want to just mention that this month, April, is the Geek Out, the Agape Geek Out event month for spring of 2016. About twice a year, I'm hoping that we as a community can kind of come together and focus our efforts in raising awareness and some funds, if possible, too, for a specific charity or ministry. And this time, we're all kind of turning our focus on showhope.org. I'll put a link somewhere in this video so that you can click on to watch the actual promo that I put together to give you more information about this. But basically, an Agape Geek Out is something that you do that's fun and geeky, that you invite other people to come to your home or to your church. You meet with them in person and do something fun and geeky. And as part of that, somehow you highlight or raise awareness or funds or something for a charity. So again, for more information, you can check out that video. Let me put it right somewhere on here. I don't even know where my little box is. I'm in the corner, but I can't remember which one. But anyway, yeah. So there's a link, and that's it. All right. So next month. This came a little bit later than I'd like. Usually, I want to try and put these at the end of the month or maybe at the very beginning of the month that they follow. So anyway, blah 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 blah. Stay tuned next time for more Christian Geek Radar next month. And in the meantime, I hope you visit christiangeekcentral.com and join us there as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.
christiangeekcentral.com